All right, everybody, welcome back to Kremin Incorporated. I'm here with Lance today. We're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna show you how to change over an L32 Swiss lathe from start to finish. Let's go check it out.
Hey, I'm Lance from Kremin, and this morning we're gonna jump right into setting up an L32 Citizen lathe. First off, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna load the program off my USB stick. We'll go to preparation, we'll go to the edit button, and we're gonna find the input output button. We're gonna highlight the input output button, and we're gonna be inputting a program into our control. We find our program number according to the part number that we have set up. This one here will be running a 3272, so we type in 3272, and we hit input. Tells you right off the get-go, input starts input. It's gonna load right into the machine. Once that's done, it says process of processing. It says complete. We're gonna pull the USB card out. We're gonna shut the door. I use the USB connection to bring my program into the machine. Other places might use a wireless connection or a hardwired connection to bring your program into the machine. And from here, we're gonna go to preparation, program select, and we're gonna pick the program we just inputted. This is going to register the program in the machine and tells the machine which one we're actually going to run. On this page here, the first one that pops up is the MC data page. This is all the verification and the hard parameters of your tool sizes, of your stock sizes, your speeds and feeds you'll be setting up and cutting off at. Once those are verified, I'll go back to my edit page. It's already on list, I hit input. This is going to bring up your physical program. Once this is all said and done, we will start at the back of the machine, we'll work forward. We're going to start at the bar loader. Here we go. After loading in the program, the next step is changing out your bar loader collet. Our L32 is hooked to a CAV 32 bar loader. These will be just about the same across all bar loaders. I will start with a rag, put the rag down. There's a push dowel pin here. I will push this out the back side. The rag is to prevent the dowel pin from falling into the machine and creating a very long day. Simply pull the bar loader collet off, grab the new size for the material that you're running to, and simply push the dowel pin back in. Wait to feel that click. There's a little ball inside there that locks inside the groove. Once that clicks, that means that's locked and it's not gonna come out. If this ball pin is not put in, it will crash the machine. The bar loader actually separates from the steel. The machine loses measurement for the length of bar that you're using, and it will crash the machine. Don't do that. We have our program loaded, we have our bar loader set. Now we are going to start into the main spindle and setting the collet and the guide bushing. Because of the size of the material got smaller from what we were running. So first things first, we're gonna break the nut loose on your main spindle with the spanning wrenches that have been provided by the machine. Simply reach in, twist the main nut off. Once the nut is off, it exposes the collet and the spindle sleeve. We'll remove the old collet. We will set that to the side so we don't get it mixed up with anything else. The next step is I will take a rag, I will wipe the inside of the spindle liner and the outside of the nut off to make sure your threads are clean on both the nut and your spindle. This is your main spindle nut. This gets put on your main spindle and actually holds the collet in. The collet rides on a lining and the lining moves back and forth, and that's what adjusts your tension on your collet. Inside the machine is superimposed. This is what it looks like if you were looking down the spindle. Place that back in the machine. Should be a slip fit. If you have to pound it in at any given time, your collet is going in crooked. Remove, wipe it off, try it again. Once again, should be a slip fit. Grab your wrench, replace the front spindle nut, and tighten down. So once you have your new collet in, we're going to take the back tension off the spindle so we have a little bit more room to slide our new material through. So with the collet unlocked, we're going to reach here in the back. We're going to undo the set screw on the spanning wrench, spanning nut, We'll just back this off. Once it's loose, you can back it off by hand. Now that I've backed off the adjustment nut for the new collet to adjust for the new steel, I'm going to drop the bar into the machine and move the bar forward through the machine. We want the material sticking out of the collet, which we just replaced. And this is where we're going to fine tune the collet to the new material size. When fine adjusting your collet on your L32 spindle, there is a jam nut that we will be adjusting. We will be adjusting this and moving in little turns, quarter turns at a time, while checking the tightness with our collet. How I like to adjust it is I will go forward until the machine alarms out and tells me that the collet is too tight. So I will repeat this process until I get a red light. Once you have your red light, the machine alarms out. What I like to do is, since we're running aluminum, I will back it off 1/8 of a turn and lock my set screw. From there, I will check the adjustability again just by hitting the clamp and unclamp switch. Everything functions properly. I'll move on to the guide bushing. With the main collet adjusted, we are going to replace the guide bushing. We're going to pull out the old one, we're going to put the new one in. The guide bushing in these machines is what gives it such close tolerances it's able to keep. We'll start by putting the wrench inside the 4 slots. With this machine being so big, it comes with a nifty screw holder, so you don't have to try and bear hug the machine. From the back side, there is going to be a set screw. We will loosen the set screw. That set screw is connected to a jam nut that threads on the back of your guide bushing. With the set screw loosened, we'll reach in and break the jam nut loose and thread the jam nut out of the machine. With the jam nut out of the machine, we will set that to the side. We'll come back over to the front and we will take the wrench out of the front bearing pack and we will remove the guide bushing from the sleeve. Once again, I will set that to the side as not to get it mixed up with the new setup we're putting in. I will take a rag and I will wipe out the inside of that bearing on both the front and the back of the machine. And along with the jam nut, we will also wipe this off and blow it off. We will look for any chips, dings, dents that might be in the face that rest against the collet, as this will affect the way that it tightens up against the collet. My jam nut looks good, so I will grab the new guide bushing. These have a keyway on them, and there is actually a key inside there that has a drive pin. These need to be lined up or the guide bushing will not go back in. What I like to do is I'll find that drive pin, I'll rotate that drive pin so it's at the top. So whenever I put my guide bushing in, I know that my slot should always be on top. With the slot on top, the guide bushing should slide in place. If at any time you find yourself pounding on that guide bushing to put that in, it is wrong. Remove the guide bushing, find your drive pin, get that lined up. If it binds, it'll create a headache for you. With that in the front, I'll take my jam nut and I'll start putting this on the back side of my collet. I will thread that on as far as I can by hand. I will go back to the front. I'll grab my guide bushing wrench and reinstall this in the front side of the bearing pack. I'll move to the back side. I'll grab the material by hand and slowly feed that through the guide bushing. Just as your guide bushing, as the material comes out of the guide bushing, I like to go about 5 or 6 inches before I start adjusting. And with the wrench, I will go on the back side of the jam nut and slowly start tightening this in just till I can no longer do it by hand. At that point in time, I will take a piece of brass, and what I'm looking for here is resistance as I pound backwards. A very light tap shows me that my guide bushing is very loose, the material slams back. So from the back side, I will start adjusting by hand and slowly tightening the guide bushing. It's easier to get this going forward. If you don't get it right, you can just back it back off, but then you're starting all back over again about where you're starting from. Give it another little tap. Has a little bit more resistance. I don't need to turn it as far this time. So reach back in here. Another little fine-tune adjustment. Come back out here, tap the material. I go as little as possible because it is easier going forward than it is starting all back over. So little adjustments will get you further in the long run. I just repeat this process back and forth until I like to feel what I call resistance. You don't want the guide bushing to clamp right on down and to prevent it from going backwards at all. You're looking for resistance. I like where that's at. I feel like it's not gonna slip. And we will take the wrench off the front. We will take the wrench off the back. And I will use my little Allen wrench and set my set screw so my jam nut does not back off my collet and lose my tension. Once I know I have resistance, the material just no longer slides back in the guide bushing. I adjust my screws, I check my tightness one more time, and then I know that I'm set. So now with our collet and our guide bushing now set, we are going to back the material out of the machine simply by going to a manual button and just backing it off manually, pulling it out of the guide bushing. Once the material has been backed out of the guide bushing, I'll reach in by hand and just shove it back into the bar feeder. Back here on the bar feeder, we'll grab the bar, pull it out, and we're going to set it inside the chamber. Once the bar is in the chamber, we'll step back to the keypad. We will turn on the bar loader and we're going to auto load this bar into the machine. At that point in time, the bar loader is going to take the measurement. It's going to know how long the bar is, and it's going to calculate from our MC data page about how many parts per bar we can get off this bar. From here, we'll turn the bar loader on. We'll go over menu select. We're going to find the bar set, and we're going to click 5. 5 is going to automatically load our bar and do the measurements and everything that we need for it. Hit 5, input, cycle start. It's going to tell you everything that's happening right here on the bottom of the screen. Right now the bar is being lifted up. It's being put into the bar chamber. Now the bar loader is pushing it forward to take that measurement so the bar loader and the machine know how long it is. The bar loader is retracting back home. The top channel is going to go close, and it's going to introduce the bar into the bar loader collet that we set previously. The bar loader pushed the bar far enough forward that right now it's resting on the back side of our guide bushing, and right now it's looking for us to close the collet. After we close the collet, we will feed the material out just so it's at the face of the guide bushing. And with that, your collet, your guide bushing, and your bar loader are now all ready to cut apart. And now we're going to set some tools. We're going to replace and touch off tools that we're going to be using. One's going to be our cutoff. One is going to be a turn tool. We will be using a live end mill holder, and we will set a boring bar. So let's start with first things first. Tool number 1 is going to be our cutoff. So there's 2 set screws right here on this gang. We call them wedges. We will loosen these up. We will pull the tool hauler out. We will set it to the side. And what I like to do is I'll take a rag and I'll wipe that pocket out because we want to make sure that that pocket is good and clean for the next tool. Replace the insert, put that back in, and tighten it down. A lot of people think these need to be gorilla hand tight. They do not. Just snug them. The wedges built in will hold them in place. We'll start by inserting this back into that tool pocket. From here, I will simply use a set screw to hold that tool in place. Now I'll go to my control panel. We'll go to our preparation page. We're going to go to man set. We're going to pick the diameter, cycle start, loosen the tool from the set screw that you did holding it in place. Simply rest the tool on top of the material diameter. From here I will snug the screws back up, come back to my control panel and go to position point. That's going to lift the insert off the steel. From there, I will snug everything down. Also, these do not need to be Gorilla tight. They are held in by the wedges. Simply snug them down. Now we'll move on to our next tool. It's going to be tool number 3. So what we'll do is we'll go to our control panel. We'll hit escape to get out of here. We'll go to tool number 3. We're going to go to position point. Highlight position point. Turn your feed dial down. Cycle start. 3 comes up, comes over, it's ready to be changed. So same process. Loosen the wedges, remove the holder, and we will change the insert. Putting our new insert in, our insert clamp. We're gonna go to our preparation page. We're gonna go to our man set. We're gonna select diameter. We'll hit the cycle start button. It goes up, comes back down. Here we'll put the tool back in. Just rest that tool on your material. We'll snug it down. Here I'll go to my position point on the control panel. They'll raise up, they'll get out of the way, and now I'll snug the wedges down that hold the tool in. With the tools tightened down, we'll move on to our next tool, which is going to be on the live section. Tool number 7. So we'll come back over here. We'll escape to get out of here. We'll go to tool 7. We're going to stay on diameter. I turn my feed control down. I'm going to go to my position point. That's going to bring tool 7 over to us. And what I like to do is I'll go to manual mode. I'll go to my X, and I will pick that up and get it out of the way for right now. When it's up out of the way, I will grab the wrenches, remove the tool that was previously being used. We're going to remove the nut and the collet once it comes off. Here we'll move the collet, we'll set it to the side so it doesn't get lost. We will reload the new collet for the tool. Put that in the nut, it locks in place. Install nut and collet back in the machine. With that screwed in the machine, I will place the tool and the collet. Leave enough hanging out. Just kind of visually eyeball it. Hand tighten the nut. Once your hand tightened, go back to your wrenches. Tighten the collet and the nut right down. Now because I don't know where the tool tip in relation to the steel is, I will back the steel up before I go to my data set point. So here we'll just jog Z backwards. And now we will call tool 7 to the manual data set page. So preparation, we're going to go to diameter, highlight diameter. We'll man set, cycle start. And at this time the tool would be actually into the material. So as long as you never leave your man set page, you can set your diameter. So right now I will just jog it up above the material. I will go to longitude on the screen. I will feed the material out, knowing that I'm above the stock. And from here, I like to use a piece of paper. You can use plastic. Anything use it as like a feeler gauge. I will jog the tool down close to the diameter of the material. I will turn my feed rate down, and I will use a piece of paper as a slip fit between my tool and my stock. Once I start to feel the paper drag between the tool and the material, I can back up, I'll pull my paper out, I come back over here, I can see on my diameter, it's going to raise it up just under 600 thousandths. I can hit input, and it takes the number that was here and it puts it in here, and now I know that my material and my tool is roughly 5 to 7 thousandths away from each other. We'll go to position point to get it away from the material. That raises it up. It's now 100 thousandths above the stock. I will back my stock up. And that is how you set the tools on the gang slide of an L32. So in preparation for the next tool, we're going to physically face off the end of the bar so we can set a boring bar to the face. So from here, we'll go to our preparation. We're already there. We'll go to tool number 3. we'll go to position point. 3 is gonna come up, come over. What I'll do is, using manual mode, I will just feed my Z out just enough to skim face the end of the bar. So we'll go to preparation, we'll go to cut off. You gotta double tap the start button, make sure everything's clear. And that faces the end of the material off. That gives us a zero plane with the tool that we're using to create zero. So from here, we'll call up our back side and physically touch the boring bar off to the face of that stock. All right, so now we're gonna touch off tools 21 through 24. We'll just be using one. So we're gonna touch off on tool 21. We'll get that one loose. Well, sometimes when the chips get stuck inside there, you gotta use the wrench. You'll have to wiggle them out. I recommend using gloves so nobody gets cut. But once you get it rolling, the holder should come right out with no problem. We'll take an air hose, we're gonna blast that hole real quick so we don't have the same trouble putting the new holder back in. Wipe it down with a quick rag. We'll grab our tool and our tool holder. We'll put that together with an Allen wrench. We'll lock that down. We'll take the completed insert holder, we'll put it back in here. With that just temporarily in the back side, we will we'll go to our preparation page. We're gonna go to tool 21. And you wanna set this in longitude. Always leave your longitude at 0. It does not accept, unless you're running G50 shifts, any move that's put inside there. So from here, longitude, man set, cycle start, the gang picks up, moves up out of the way, and it's gonna come to a set position forward. With the material in the way, since we're cutting tubular stock, we can't set off the center. We're gonna have to shift over a little bit and move our tool out to touch the face of the steel. So from here, we'll go to manual. We're gonna go to X2. We'll jog the tool over. And from here, we'll pull the tool holder out to the face of the material. Once you have your insert set to the face of the material, go ahead and give one of the set screws a little bit of torque, just so it doesn't move. Get your hands and stuff out of the machine. We'll go back to our preparation. And we'll hit opposite retract, and that will send the sub spindle home. With that being in its home position, I will use the set screws and lock that tool in place. In this next step, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull out the old pick-off collet and replace it with the one that we need for the job. We're gonna start by removing the nut. Sometimes it helps if you have a little hammer. Most times they just break loose. Set everything to the side. We're gonna remove the collet. Once again, we'll set this to the side so we don't get it mixed up. With the rag, we'll wipe down the threads of the outside. We'll wipe down the inside. We'll grab our collet that we're gonna put in there. Slip fit, if you have to pound it in, that means you have chips or burrs or something inside the hole. Give it another nice little wipe down. Make sure there's nothing stuck to your collet. We're gonna reassemble the nut. Just has to be nice and snug. Make sure you don't over tighten. The next guy will greatly appreciate it. So now with the nut and stuff put back on here, we're gonna pull off the rear cover. And this is where we're going to fine-tuningly adjust our pick-off collet. I already have here a pin that we're gonna be setting the collet to, because we know the turn diameter of the material. So first thing I'll do is I'll reach in here, I'll go back to the spanner nut, break that loose, and we'll just back that off. I will cycle the chuck, take any slack out of it, and I'll test fit to my pin. Slide the pin in there. We're not using the whole depth of the collet. Our part's pretty thin, so we're just gonna use the end of the collet for setting the tightness. Doesn't grip anything. We'll start fine-tuning adjusting right here. Now we're gonna be picking off on aluminum tubing. I don't wanna set my collet pressure too tight, so I just like it where it grabs the pin, and you can always adjust more as you get into the machine. How you know you're too tight after you run apart is you'll start crushing the hole diameter from where you started. So at this point, I'm gonna leave this right here. I like the way that it feels. I'll tighten the set screw on the back side of the spindle, replace my cover, put the cover back on, move my tools from the machine, and at this point in time, we're ready to go to a start position and actually cut a chip. All right, so now with our tooling set, we're actually gonna cut this part off. We're gonna send our machine home, and we're going to dry run the program. So we'll start over here with the preparation. I have my material and stuff put out. I'm going to go to my cutoff. I'm gonna cycle start my cutoff. Right now it's gonna physically cut the part down. Once that's done, we unlock the main chuck. We're gonna go to a start position, cycle start, we relock the chuck. Now I say dry run. What we're gonna do is we're gonna let the machine run the program without physically turning on the spindles. So from here, we'll go to check, high-speed check lit up, and we're gonna turn the bar loader off. From here with high-speed check lit, we can double tap the cycle start button. The machine is actually physically running through the program, and it's gonna pick up if we're missing on any error codes, if our radiuses or something isn't correct, or if we're missing a decimal point, it will pick that up. It is not 100% guarantee it's going to tell you if the machine is going to crash. High-speed check is not meant for that. It is a program editing crutch. So with this coming through, it says program check machine error. Even though it says error, that tells me that we're good to go. There's no physical alarms in the machine. So from here, we'll just hit reset. We'll hit escape. We'll go up from check. We'll go to auto. And from auto, I will hit go. And I will run through this slowly. I never take my hand off the feed dial. So from here, we'll hit go. Double tap the button. Always have my hand on the feed dial. Now I can run this machine as slow or as fast as I want, watching what's going on in the machine, watching what's going on in my program. Sub spindle has come up, the boring bar is working on the inside. Sub spindle backs away. It's gonna come over, it's gonna knock out a part, if there were a part there, while the front side continues to machine the part. This is where the live tool is gonna come in. It's gonna cut our notch in the front of our part. The tool drops down, the material is gonna move out. With that being done, you're gonna come over and make a little deburr pass. Now the sub spindle is gonna come in and pick this part off while tool 1 comes down and parts it off. Got it. So yeah, that's how we set up our L32. If you have any questions or comments, bring them down below. If you like the video, like and subscribe. We'll see you later.